Thank you so much for checking out Learn Linux TV, your source for Linux-related fun and learning. I just love making this content for you guys, but making such content isn't cheap. If you enjoy my content, please consider supporting me by becoming a patron. As a patron, you'll enjoy ad-free versions of every video that I upload, and also, at specific tiers, you'll also enjoy early access to select videos before the rest of the world. But even if you're not able to support me by becoming a patron, no problem, there's other ways to help. You can simply click the like button on the videos that you enjoy, that would help out. In addition to that, word of mouth helps as well. So if you are enjoying my content, please help spread the learning by telling your friends and coworkers about the channel. If you're looking for something to read, well, you're in luck. I write books. And you can check out my latest books at learnlinux.tv/books. Are you looking for help for your Linux server related projects? Or are you a business that has a Linux related project that you're working on and you need another set of hands? Well, you're in luck. Go to learnlinux.tv/request-assistance. There you can check out my schedule and consider hiring me to help you out. With all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with today's video. Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Learn Linux TV. I am so happy that you guys have been enjoying my Proxmox series. I had a lot of fun filming that series, and as I record this video, I'm still editing the remaining episodes. Depending on when you're watching this, all the episodes might already be available, but I knew when I started recording it that I'd have to do some standalone videos about things that I forgot to tell you guys about along the way. And this video right here is one of those. In an earlier video, I showed you guys how to create a virtual machine within Proxmox. We set up a Linux instance. But when it comes to Windows, the process is a little unique, so I figured that I would need to create a standalone video to show you guys how to install Windows on a Proxmox virtual machine, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video. And since this is a standalone video, that means you could watch this video along with the others or by itself, but I will show you the entire process of setting up a Windows VM, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so let's get started with setting up Windows as a virtual machine guest on Proxmox. Now there's going to be a few things that you'll need to download first. So what I'll do is I'll just click over here to my ISO repository. And as you can see, I have a bunch of ISO images here. And what you're seeing right here is my production Proxmox stack. So these are all of my VMs, and of course I have all of these ISO images. Now as you can see, I already have Windows 10 and Windows Server 2019 downloaded to the ISO repository. I'll have links down below where you can get the ISO image for Windows Server as well as Windows 10. So what you'll need to do is download the ISO image and then upload it here to Proxmox. Another thing that you're going to need is the ISO image that contains Windows drivers for Proxmox. And without that ISO image, you probably won't be able to install Windows at all. So what I'm going to do is just click download from URL. I'll have a link down below that you can use to download this for yourself. So I'll paste in the URL right here. I already have a copy to my clipboard. And as you can see, the file name is going to be VirtIO win.iso. So I'm going to click download. And then I'll just give this a moment to finish, and I'll be right back. And as it shows right here, the process was successful. And we have the ISO image for the drivers right here, so we're good to continue. As far as which version of Windows you install, it shouldn't matter. Windows 10, Windows Server, whatever you need, it should be fine. The process should be exactly the same. So what I'm going to do right now is actually create a virtual machine. And to really make this VM stand out, I'll just give it a very high number here, 995 for example, just to make sure that it shows up at the end of the list of virtual machines. I'm just going to call it Windows. Then next we'll select our ISO repository, wherever it is that you store your ISO images. It doesn't matter if you have shared storage like me or if you have it local to Proxmox, either way is fine. We're going to drop this down. And then we'll choose the ISO image for Windows, whichever one you want. So I'll just set up Windows Server, that should be fine. Then here, what we're going to do is select Microsoft Windows. We want to make sure that we select the proper type. And the version of Windows that I'll be installing, again, is 2019, which is included here on the version. So we should be good on this tab. I'll click Next. So what you want to do is check this box right here for the QEMU agent. We'll be setting that up later. But we should definitely check this box to make sure that the agent will be enabled as soon as we install the software. We'll make sure that the SCSI controller is on VirtIO SCSI, which it already is. Then for the bus, we're going to choose SCSI. And for the disk, I'm going to bump that up to 64 gigabytes. Windows can be a little bit bloated. It is what it is. I'll check the discard box here because I am actually running Proxmox on an SSD, and that'll make sure that I can take advantage of trim support. Under cache, what we're going to do is set it to write back. And these are all recommendations straight from the Proxmox documentation, which is why I chose that option. In this case, write back should actually increase performance. So let's go to the next screen. And for the CPU, I'm going to give it 4 cores. I mean, you don't have to do that. I just want it to be fast. So I think 4 is going to be fine for that. For the memory, I'm just going to bump that up to 4096. Now you don't have to go as high as 4 gigs, but I am in my case. I have plenty of memory free on this server. In fact, I could probably double this and still be fine. But I'll leave it up to you. It just depends on what your requirements are, and that'll determine how high you need to set that. In my case, what I'm going to do is select VMBR1, and depending how far along you are in the Proxmox series, you may or may not have created other networks yet. It doesn't really matter. Just choose whatever bridge you have, and if you're far enough along, you can choose the segregated network if you want to. But in my case, I'm going to choose that one right there. I'll click Next, and I'm not going to choose this box right here. I don't want the VM to start just yet. I'm going to click Finish. So as you can see here, the VM is created. And before we go any further, we want to go to Hardware, and what we'll want to do is add another CD-ROM drive. So next I'll select the storage repository that contains all of my ISO images. Pretty much the same as last time. And then for the ISO image, what I want to do is select the VirtIO Win ISO, this one right here, that contains all the drivers. The thing is, if you don't include this ISO image right here and attach it to your virtual machine, it's possible that Windows might not be able to see the hard drive on your virtual server. You might get an error that mentions that the hard drive has not been detected, and you'll actually see that later in this video. So I'll select this one right here, and I'll click Create. So now we have 2 CD-ROM drives, one for Windows Server, or whatever version of Windows you happen to be installing, and the other one is the driver disk. So at this point, we should be good to start the VM, so I'll go ahead and do that. Then we'll switch over here to the console. And as you can see, it's loading. All right, so the Windows installer has started. So I'm just going to click Next. I'll click Install Now. And in my case, for Windows Server, I'm going to choose the option that has the desktop experience installed. It'll probably just make it easier to install the drivers later. It might not be required. But anyway, that's what I'm going to choose, so I'll click Next. So I'm just going through all the screens here. And then as you can see here, it doesn't detect a hard drive at all. And that's why we have the driver disk. So I'll click Load Driver. I'll click Browse. And here's the VirtIO disk right here. I'll click OK. Let's see if it finds it. So I guess it's not able to search the disk properly. I'll click Browse again. So what we'll do is select this folder right here, VIO SCSI. Then we'll select 2K19 because that's the version of Windows that I'm installing. And then we'll click right here where it says AMD 64. Then I'll click OK. And check this out. It actually found the driver that it needed. So I'll click Next. And take a look at that. Now it's able to see the hard drive. This wasn't listed here before, so the driver installation worked just fine. We will need that ISO image again later, but for now, what I'm going to do is just click Next. And now Windows is installing. So I'm going to let this run, and then I'll be right back as soon as it's finished. All right, so it looks like the process is finished. It's going to restart the VM. So right now, I'll just set up the password for the admin account. And again. So far, so good. So what I'm going to do next is just pull this tray out right here, click the keyboard icon, and then I'll send it the virtual version of the 3-finger salute. So I'll type in the password. And as you can see, we have Windows Server installed as a virtual machine. That's pretty cool. Now, we're not quite finished though. If I minimize this, and then right-click the Start button, and then I'll bring up the Device Manager, you'll notice that we'll probably have one or more devices that are missing a driver. If I open up the File Manager, you'll see that I still have the driver ISO mounted right here, and that's what we're going to use to install the drivers. So what I'm going to do is right-click this device right here, then I'll click Update Driver, and then I'll click Browse. I'll click Browse again, and basically what we have to do is find out what driver it wants. So if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the balloon driver. Let's see if I'm right. 2K19, AMD 64. Let's see if it works. And it did. So now I have the VirtIO balloon driver installed, and that supports memory ballooning, which is pretty cool. I'll click Close. We're down to one more device that needs a driver, so let's update that driver. I'll browse again and again. And what I did was I just selected the entire CD. When I installed Windows and I tried to do pretty much the same thing, it wasn't able to search the disk properly and find the driver, but this time it did. So I guess when in doubt, just select the entire disk, and if it finds the driver, then you're all set. So now we no longer have any unknown devices. That's pretty cool. So next what we're going to do is install the QEMU agent. So we'll just open up the File Manager, we'll go to the PC, double click on the CD-ROM drive, and there should be a folder called Guest Agent, and here it is. And I'll double click on this one right here, the 64-bit version. That should be all I need to do. And that's it. We have successfully installed Windows Server as a Proxmox VM. That's pretty cool. Now, as a quick aside, if you go here to the File Manager, right-click on PC and go to Properties, it's telling me that Windows is activated, but it's actually an evaluation version. I don't really have a license here. And you can see down here that it mentions that it's actually an evaluation version. It's good for 180 days. If you want to continue using this, then you'll need to actually add a product key to the installation, and you can do that right here where it shows Change Product Key. If you don't add a key, it's possible that after the evaluation period is over, the Windows installation might be disabled. Windows licensing is beyond the scope of this video and even this entire channel, so I'll leave it up to you to acquire a product key for Windows, whatever version you're installing, and adding it here where it shows Change Product Key. Once you do that, your Windows installation should be all set. But anyway, when it comes to this particular video, there you go. We now have a virtual machine running Windows right here on Proxmox. So at this point, if you followed along with me, you should have your very own Windows virtual machine running inside Proxmox. As you just saw, the process is a bit more involved when you compare it to the process of setting up a Linux virtual machine, but we were able to get it going. Sure, we had to download a special driver disk, and that driver disk was required for the storage media to even show up at all, but we were able to get it going, and hopefully you liked this video and it was able to help you out. Speaking of liking this video, if you did like this video, please click that like button. That lets YouTube know that you want to see more content just like this. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done so, because I have some very awesome videos coming very soon. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it.